Fellow Singaporeans, supporters of the Workers' Party, voters of East Coast GRC and Fengshan SMC, good evening. My name is Ron Tan, and I am a candidate for Nee Soon GRC. Tonight, I want to talk about one key aspect of Singapore as our home, the Singapore core. A key part of home is familiarity. Key to this is a core Singaporean culture and identity. And no, this speech is not about the foreigners. It is about how the PAP's policies to spur growth at all costs have made our home unfamiliar and less homely. How the PAP's black and white vision has turned our vision and core grey. How these policies have contributed to the weakening of our Singapore core. In the 1970s and 80s, the PAP held full control over all aspects of Singapore life, where you live and what you speak. They focused all aspects of governance on the single-minded pursuit of economic development. Some will argue that that was necessary to bring us to prosperity, and accept that there is merit in this argument. But one must also look at the cost of such an approach, especially on our identity as Singaporeans. For a long time, the PAP relied on property, including HDB commercial properties, as instruments to help create wealth and make the people happy to get your vote. This led to Singapore going from one property boom to another. Property prices skyrocketed out of the reach of the many. In the process, urban renewal went at an accelerated pace, and many old places were wantonly redeveloped for the sake of progress. The National Library, Bukit Brown, and natural spaces, and now Bidadari just across my home, places where Singaporeans from all groups and all walks of life congregated. The PAP sat by as commercial rents skyrocketed. Many auntie and uncle proprietors went out of business, unable to meet high rents and unable to face competition from large companies. Familiar auntie and uncle shops wound up because the cost was simply too great for them to make a very decent living. The PAP sat by even as hawker stores were sublet and rented out at higher and higher prices. Many hawkers could not meet the cost of doing businesses. Their children chose other professions because being a hawker was simply not worth the toil and effort for so little money. So how does this affect the Singapore core and the Singapore identity? Places are inextricable with identity. For instance, a church, a temple, mosque is more than just a place where people pray. It is a place where communities form, where relationships form, where memories that keep us rooted to the larger Singapore are formed. In the bid to spur rapid development, many old places were replaced with other forms of land use, and their communities dispersed. Communities were lost, and attachments weakened. The Singapore core is weakened. Do you want only the PAP to decide what stays and what gets bulldozed? Community shops, shops where you know the proprietor, where you know them personally by their name, shops where aunties and uncles gather to chat and exchange neighborhood news. These also form the nucleus around how communities are formed. These places become significant to people. It becomes part of our routine. Communities are formed around these places. Many such places were lost in the PAP's narrow definition of progress, lost to urban renewal and high rental costs. Singapore is also known for its great food. Singaporeans will be quick to tell you where the best satay or best wonton mee is, or even the best ola. But the hawker center in Singapore is dying out. It is being diluted. Many good hawker stores are not taken over and have simply disappeared. Hawker culture was a key element in our quest to build identity. The PAP in building hawker centers created common places and spaces where all Singaporeans could congregate and form relationships, where they could form experiences that build their identity. But the PAP did not manage it well, because they were blind to the plight of the people and could only see money as the be-all and end-all. Do you know what Mr. Vivian Balakrishnan said? He said that ingredients form 60% of hawker store running cost. He said rental costs are just a small fraction of hawker store costs. Is that true? Minister Vivian is lucky he is a minister and not a hawker, because with figures like that, he would go out of business in no time. For the longest time, hawker stores have been subject to inflated rents due to the PAP government doing nothing to stop the subletting of stores. They turned what was a social policy to help the poor earn a living and to provide Singaporeans with good food and community space to one where a select few made money as landlords. Do you know when the PAP put a stop to subletting of stores? It was only in 2012, 3 years ago, after Singaporeans made them wake up with a big slap in Hougang and Aljunied. It was not the Workers' Party, but it was you who made this happen. PAP's method of progress comes at a cost. We may progress into a shiny and gleaming city, but our soul is weakened and our spirits diluted. Should we have more voices in Parliament so that the PAP can see things more clearly? The PAP has also weakened the Singaporean core in other ways. In the 1970s, to pursue economic development, the PAP emphasized the use of English and Mandarin. I have no problems with that. One can see how the command of English and Mandarin has made Singaporeans confident and sought after in the global economy. However, the PAP's problem is that they can only see things in binary form. If we want people to learn English and Mandarin, we must eradicate dialects. The PAP does not believe that Singaporeans are intelligent enough to switch code. They did not think that people were smart enough to use English and Mandarin in some contexts and dialects in others. Dialects are important in fostering community bonds. As a generation grew up not speaking dialects at all, many children could not even hold decent conversation with their grandparents. This makes me sad. I wonder how many stories and lessons on values and morals were lost because of this. Today, I see PAP MPs using dialects, and even the Pioneer Generation card promotional videos are done in different dialects. The PAP's black and white, us and them binary worldview has brought great progress in some areas. We are economically first in the world, but culturally we have become poorer. Policies set the direction for us, the people, to move together, to work together. No policy is perfect. Policies affect each and every single one of us in one way or another. It is important to have the feedback from the people, to listen to the people, to voice out the concerns of the people in order for the necessary changes to be made. The PAP has brought about uneven progress for Singapore. The PAP will choose to see the world in binary form because it can, because it monopolizes power, because that narrative is convenient for it to stay in power. Do you think you need more opposition voices in Parliament to cure the PAP's binary vision? Your voice is your power to tell the government how policies should be crafted to serve us, we Singaporeans. With a strong Workers' Party presence in Parliament, we can ensure that your voices will be heard. With a strong Workers' Party presence in Parliament, every one of us will have a say in the direction we are going. Come September 11, exercise your power to empower yourselves. Let your voices be heard in shaping the future of our Singapore. Vote Workers' Party. Empower your future!